Hey YouTubers, I thought I'd do a video log on the breeding of my German blue rams. This is going to take you from eggs to wigglers to free swimming and pretty much where they're at this point. So let's take a look at the process. Okay, so here we are in the just laid state. As a matter of fact, I think the male has just finished his duty in this process and fertilized the eggs. And I believe that's Mama doing her duty now of protecting the eggs and making sure that the male doesn't come in and make a snack out of them. So most German blue rams, being that most are farm raised, have kind of lost the knack of taking care of the eggs and the babies. And unfortunately, this couple will keep them until they're about wigglers, maybe just into the free swimming state, and then they usually eat them. So I separate them when they're at that egg state. Another thing you can notice that you see how the eggs are kind of an opaque color and the little dots inside of them. That's how you definitely know that they have been fertilized. I really wish that they didn't eat them, because I'd love to see them raise them on their own. But yeah, that's Mama taking care of the eggs. Here's kind of a wider view of the two parents. As I said, they do take care of them until they get up to just the free swimming state, and then unfortunately, maybe a day or so afterwards, they kind of disappear. So here's where I have separated out the terracotta planter base and put it into a plastic specimen container that is hanging on the inside of the parent's tank, so the water will maintain the same temperature. This is cut to after I have moved the babies or the eggs over into the jar rearing system that I use. I initially used this with the angelfish, and now I am also utilizing it for the German blue rams. As you can see, they have reached a free swimming state here. At this point, you need to start the feeding process. Right now, or for this particular batch, I was using Hikari First Bites, and I supplemented in a little bit of Rapashi powdered food, instead of actually going through and heating the water up and gelling it and making it into a mold. I just take a little bit of the powder and mix it in with the First Bites, and use a syringe to distribute it into the bottle. So as you can see, there's quite a few free swimmers at this point. Seem to be a pretty good batch. Okay, so here we go. This was, I guess, a couple of days later. As you can see, the amount of free swimmers has diminished considerably. I am new to this, and I probably has something to do with the fact that I wasn't feeding enough or overfeeding or something to that effect. I'm learning as I go. Trying to watch as many videos that I can find on YouTube and read as much as I can out of books and magazines and on the internet. But unfortunately, that's kind of one of the weak spots. They tell you to remove the eggs if the parents are eating them, and to start feeding them right after they get to a free swimming state, but they don't tell you how much or what the process is, how many times a day, or any of that. Hadn't been able to find anything really solid on that. So in this case, I think I was feeding like 3 times a day, like early afternoon, mid-afternoon, and late afternoon, or around dinner time or whatever. Okay, so here is where I've moved the babies out of the breeder jar into a 5-gallon aquarium that I located in my bathroom right next to the sink. That way, with the water changes that I knew I was going to have to be doing, I had it right there next to the sink. Made it a lot easier for me to do the water changes. I had read quite a few things and saw quite a few videos that stated that the German blue rams in particular are very, very nitrate sensitive, so you need to do very regular water changes, keep their water as fresh as possible. I know it doesn't look so much like that, but if you look closely at the video, you could see a lot of stuff kind of zipping around in there. That is baby brine shrimp. They had reached a stage at this point where I could start feeding them the baby brine shrimp. And what you see in the foreground on the bottom of the tank is baby brine shrimp mulm. I was feeding them 4 times a day at this point, and from the looks of the mulm, probably overfeeding them. But being that I was doing a daily water change, I wasn't so much worried about the actual buildups of nitrates and other bad things for them. Yeah, so really what you want to be doing at this stage would be at least a 30% daily water change. I was doing about a 50 to 60% water change, and keeping a batch of 5-gallon tub in there that was filled with water so I could age it overnight and get it temperature correct for their tank. So the next day all I had to do was vacuum out the mulm from the day before and bring the water level down, and then just transfer the aged water, temperature set aged water, over into the tank, which I found to be a lot easier on them and a lot less stressful for them, and they have been doing quite well with that process. So maybe a little overkill, but as I said, this is first time through that I've gotten them to this point, and I'm kind of determined to raise them through to adulthood at this point. So maybe a little bit too careful, but hey, better cautious than having another batch of dead fish. Anyway, the 10 that I've got that have survived to this point seem to be doing well, and at this juncture I was hoping that I would be able to bring all 10 up through adulthood. So that brings us to modern day. I believe at this point the fish have reached about a month and a half old. If I'm correct, I'll have to go back and look at the timestamps and see exactly how old they are at this point. But I am down to 8 remaining, and at this point I feel very confident that the 8 will make it. You do see one that's kind of laying off to his side a little bit, breathing pretty heavy. Them, yeah, right there, just kind of turning on its side. I think he or she has a swim bladder problem, so it will be culled. I am not a believer of culling and flushing or humanely killing or whatever. It will go in its own little tank with other culls from other spawns and live out whatever it's got for a life. But that will leave me with 7 viable, and I'm happy to have them. I really am happy to have them. I do have a new batch, a new spawn that is presently in the grow out jar. This time around, I do have a supply of vinegar eels, so I'm feeding the Hikari first bites mixed in with a little bit of the Rapashi community formula, and supplementing also along with that is some vinegar eels. And hopefully I will be getting a culture of some microworms here soon. One of the problems that I have with the microworms, and I also have a batch of white worms presently, is that they require the cooler temperatures, and unfortunately the refrigerator's a little too cold and the room temperature is too hot. So what I've been doing is keeping the white worms in a cooler with some ice at the bottom of the cooler, and some insulation in between to kind of buffer in between them and the ice. And it's pretty tough trying to keep it between 50 and 60 degrees. You got to kind of have to graduate out how much ice and how long it'll last and when you need to replace it and all that. And it's kind of a pain in the you know where. But it seems to be working, at least to keep the white worms alive at this point. And when I get my culture of microworms who also like it in the cooler temperatures, I hope to have a wine cooler at that stage. And that way all I have to do is keep both the white worms and the microworms in the wine cooler, and that should keep them happy. But yeah, they seem to be doing well, and I figure I'm going to probably get this last 7 at least that will be viable. I'm going to kind of go through them and grow them out to see what kind of colorations I get on them. I'm still shooting for the ultimate German blue ram, but that'll come in time. Persistence. Beyond that, the other spawn, or the second spawn that I got, seems to be doing well at this point. I'll give you updates on that in the future. And yeah, so I hope this was helpful to some of you, if you might be interested in breeding some German blue rams, or you are a breeder and maybe picked up a new idea. If you have any suggestions, or you're currently breeding them and you have any advice you could give me, I am all ears. So, if I missed on something, or you can give me any advice, please do. Leave it in the comments below. I do read them, and, hey, I'm new to this, but that's about all I got for you now. So, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.